right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another B3FL official podcast. We're kicking off the 2022 season with a bang. Wow, what an off season we had last year. A whole bunch of guys moved up, some guys moved down. We've had a couple some kind of like offshoot podcasts as to cover a little bit what was going on this season. But now we're back in full swing. There's a lot of football to talk about this year. We have some big guys moving up. We got to shout out Ricky later on the show. We had some key guys moving down. And I can't wait to. This season is shaping up like it's going to be great. There's a little bit of drama in the offseason, which is perfect. You cannot have a fantasy football league where everything runs smooth. Otherwise, it's just no fun. You need a little bit of controversy to keep the boys heated and engaged. But yeah, so wow. Week one feels good. It was a quiet Sunday for me. I was a little hungover I was at a wedding that night. And just sat back, watched 8 hours of football. Life was good. And so it could have been better, though. I could have been better because my team wasn't so great. So we're going to start things off. We're going to look at the A-League this year. We're going to start here because I feel like this is probably where we should start, considering it's all the champs. And your boy, your one and only, the true host of the show, well, he kind of got stomped by Mike, and there was a little bit of controversy leading up to this game as Mike was trying to put in some trades, and the commissioner kept saying no. In all fairness, there was a little bit of one of the teams. It was very evident that he was trying to throw the league a little bit by collecting all the Buffalo players. So he was dropping very valuable high draft picks to collect Buffalo. Mike was one of the guys. Mike has Stephon Diggs. Was trying to capitalize it. The commissioner said no. Mike said, "F you, commissioner. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take this on my back anyways." And that's exactly what he did. He put the whole team on his back, and he scored 137 points last week. Just absolutely railroaded me. And I was kind of surprised, actually. I looked at his team before the night before on Saturday night, and I was like, you know what? I think I got this one in the bag this year. And he just came out flying. Honestly, there's not a lot I could do to stop him. He just had a solid game plan in place. He started the Pittsburgh defense, which I thought was bold considering they were playing with the number one offenses from last year. But it came through for him. Big gamble, high risk, high reward. Bunch of interceptions, bunch of fumbles, and I think that really pushed him into an upper echelon in the points for, as he's quickly come out of the gate unbelievably strong. On top of the Pittsburgh defense, he was aided by Justin Herbert and DeAndre Swift. Those two guys with 20 burgers, they came in just pounding me. And I gotta say, it felt pretty bad with taking the the blunt end of that, right? It was more like a,
"What are you doing, step bro?"
Yeah, that's kind of what I felt like on Sunday afternoon, watching Mike's team, watching DeAndre Swift just keep rushing all day. There used to be a time where Detroit running backs didn't score that many points. They never rushed over 100 yards, but that is not the case anymore. That ship has sailed. Realistically, there's not a lot I could do. Keenan Allen got hurt fairly early in the game. Chase Edmonds and Austin Eckler are busts. Gonna throw the whole team away. I think it's time to rebuild. My boy Jameis Winston is my favorite, though. I don't know if I'll ever drop him because honestly, he's a soundbite machine, and I think 95 points is respectable. I would have finished in the top half of the league, but that's not enough to win you a game against Mike, who's just clearly on a different level this year. So congrats, Mike. You came out strong. And on the flip side, a guy who didn't come out strong, we're going to look at Jer. Jer, where are you doing here? Oh, yeah, you're right here. Look at this. Look at this. So Jer's playing a division rival in Matt Daly. And I got to say, not a strong showing by the boys. Projected to be a close game. And it was pretty split amongst the picks. because I can see everybody's picks and how they were doing. It was almost 50-50. And but Jared, none of your players came through. Aaron Rodgers, this guy, it's very clear that he's missing receiving, like a good receiving core. And honestly, it's he has. I don't want to sound like a broken record, because if you listen to Colin Cowherd, basically, and I think he hit it right on the head, is Aaron Rodgers has trust issues. He doesn't trust his family. He never trusts his coaches. He didn't trust like the COVID thing. He just didn't. There was no trust there. And now, when his rookie receivers drop balls in division games, which they're going to do because they're brand new, they came from small schools. They're going to make mistakes, and it's a big time division game. He threw them the ball in the first quarter, a couple drops, and didn't go back until the end of the game. Look, I as a leader on that Green Bay offense, he needed to do more, and he can't just throw to people he likes or trusts. He needs to come back and develop the trust in these young receivers, which I think he fell flat on. It was a great win for my boys in purple. We just looked phenomenal out there. But yeah, so I don't want to take anything away from Matt. Jerry, you sucked, but Matt, you had a pretty good game. 120 points. That's definitely more than enough to win most games. I think the average points for last year was around like 90 something, like low 90s. So that the 120, way more than enough. And I was really surprised this year because we had a whole bunch of people who scored more than 100 points. Like, that's not common up here. And I mean, if you guys followed the power rankings of the podcast last year, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. So, Matt Daly, congrats on your big win against a big rival. Jarrett, you suck. So, anyways, there's a couple more games I want to talk about here. First, we're going to talk about some major upsets, and how I'm dealing with upsets is not projected points, but it's based on the crowd favorites. And there was a couple sweeps where everybody thought that one person was going to win. So the first is Jordan Ivany, and play boldly. Not your time. You basically lost to a half a Buffalo squad here, and there's rumors that they're going to put up a lot of points. I still don't see how they're going to do that all year. But I digress. He was really helped out by Darvin Adams now. Devontae Adams, not Darvin Adams. Devontae Adams. But Stephon Diggs would have been the same. But yeah, and then McLaurin gave him a very solid outing. Jordan, 90 points ain't going to cut it. You got to do better. 0-1, not the start you'd like to see. But your Seahawks are 1-0, so maybe you sacrificed yourself for the greater good on that one. Even Scott is deciding that he doesn't even want to have a bench. He'd rather just fill it with backup Buffalo players. So there's lots of good guys on the waiver market if you're so inclined. The other game that was supposed to be a clean sweep was everybody had picked Omizi, Yeezus Walk With Me, and it just didn't come out yesterday. So on Sunday, McCaffrey and Connor did okay for you, but they're not matching the production out of Tickle's team, Cup D's Nuts, which I think is a great team name. Great job. I also loved that you nicknamed all your players personal touches. Love those. And the back half of your team, Zach, kind of lackluster. But when Omar has Cam Akers for 3 carries, you're off to a very good start. I'm seeing that you even had Javonte Williams on the bench who had 2 touchdowns. So, that's a pretty good production for a touchdown, like a vulture. And Dotson, you put him on the bench too. So, realistically, we're looking at a very strong team all the way through. I don't know if I would have started Dotson over Samuel. That seems no-brainer. But, look, moving forward, very strong team. I think I might have ranked you too low. Should have moved you up. Made a mistake. I was too bearish on Cordell Patterson in this Falcons offense. But we'll see once they play a harder team than the Saints how well they move the ball. Omar, unfortunately, it was like Christian McCaffrey had some injury rumors. T. Higgins was knocked out of the game early. And with Cam Akers scoring you 0 points. Ouch. ouch, dude. So that's what it is. And yeah, so then the last game I want to talk about is we had a game decided by 2 yards, 78.46 to 78.26. Literally, that's like 2 steps from a running back. It's a bummer that Marty, your guys couldn't pull through for you, because it's those are just nail biters, and they feel bad. You lost Dak Prescott early in the game. That would have been a huge swing for you. But honestly, you didn't do yourself any favors by not starting Kareem Hunt. Now, flip side, Zach could have played Hilliard, but beggars can't be choosers. So I love seeing these close games. The competition is great. So that's all I got for A League. We will now switch and transition into the B League. All right, so we got the B League here. First game I want to shout out is Connor Pico, and oh wait, this is week 2. We need to go week 1. Connor Pico, my guy, holy! I thought you had a pretty decent draft, because I think Justin Jefferson is going to be like the heart and soul of your team, and it shows. He scored a 30 burger on Papa T, who was the runaway train last year, steamrolling everybody in the second half of the year. It was off to a very slow start last year and picked up his momentum. So I think after this tremendous beatdown, he is going to try to come back as with a fury. But we'll have to see how this plays out. But Connor, man, your team is loaded. You had a great outing by Boys in Purple. So Lamar Jackson, Justin Jefferson. Your Raiders players came through huge with Devontae Adams and Darren Waller. Waller also dropped a touchdown in the end zone early on in that game. Would have made it just outrageous. And somehow these guys picking the Steelers defense, creating lots of turnovers. I don't know what they saw. Maybe it's that the fact that the Bengals offensive line is terrible. But another stroke of genius, benching Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is usually the go-to. But you know what? You saw something that you're just like, I think that a Ravens team playing the Jets is probably going to outscore a freshly minted new coach Minnesota Vikings team with the Green Bay Packers. So great coaching, solid. The only thing is that you could have probably pulled Zeke. Now that's hard because James Robinson, man, he was a fantasy darling so many years ago. Everybody loved this guy. He was a free agent, and I think probably 2 years ago was when he kind of really first burst onto the scene, or maybe it was 3 years ago. Anyways, he burst on the scene and hasn't looked back since. So good to see that he's on your bench. You stuck with him. So the worst player was King Hendy. And, man, I was talking to you in the offseason, and you're feeling uncomfortable about this league. And I think it shows here. Unfortunately, I thought your team actually was pretty good. CeeDee Lamb is going to have a hard time, though. Now that Dak Prescott's going to be out, everybody said what they say. Originally, the estimates were 6 to 8 weeks, which actually means probably 4 to 6. And then he's just going to come back for whatever big game is closest to that in that range. Division game. I think I saw that the Eagles there somewhere. But even if it was, we were thinking he broke his thumb here at the joint. And Dr. Insight says he's like, normal people's 8 months, which means that for these superhuman freaks who are all on who just basically play and live on painkillers, it's gonna be 4 weeks, right? You basically take the amount of weeks it takes a normal human, months it takes a normal human, divide it by 2, and then just change that to weeks, and that's how much you get. So that's of course not official. Also sucked. Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, who was out. That situation in Arizona scares the daylights out of me. Kyler Murray and his agent have gone very public about issues with the Cardinals, and the Cardinals appear to keep saying how Kyler Murray is not really a leader. They need to do better in practice, which is a direct that's a direct shot at Kyler Murray. Man, those Cardinals, I don't know about them. The team I think is decent. They've got a good talent on the team, but Kyler Murray isn't getting along with Cliff Kingsbury, and the fact that they've even structured their contract around practices and video game and film study, and the fact that was leaked by the Arizona office means that there is some rough water ahead. And so, look, I digress. Could go about that for a long time, but Kalen Newborough, hats off to you. You beat a very injured Eric Henderson. Still scored a lot of points. So I think the average last year for this B League was around like 100 and something. I expect that this league is going to be better this year because one more year for some of these guys in this league. There are some guys in the A League that dropped down. No, Henderson, you're not showing up very well here, so maybe next week, but there'll always be next week. Lastly, in a crowd upset, everybody had picked Nate here to win this game. This was a game that everyone, like in the polls, 15 people all said Nate was going to lose, or Nate was going to win, and he ended up losing. Now, 88 points is not going to get it done in either league. Your top four players had pretty decent production, top five, but then you started a tight end who got 0. If you would have asked me, I would have told you he's going to get 0. The Minnesota tight ends, you know what? They aren't going to get much production because Justin Jefferson is going to steal all of it this year. So Cam Akers also getting you 0. Yeah, you know what? You lose those two guys. Let's say 4 points from a tight end brings you to 92, and then 10 points from your flex brings you to 102. You still won't win, but at the very least, you're going to be competitive. Because at a little over 100 is the average points in this league, so we'll see. But yeah, and your bench had a whole bunch of zeros on it here. You got to pick some guys up in free agency. I do want to say that I did see some pretty key free agents come up in the day or two. I do like that it's pretty blatant on who's picking where and how much people are bidding. And I got Taysom Hill, who I really wanted. I thought that I haven't really adjusted how much points everybody's worth, so I definitely overspend. But for a guy who runs the ball, who catches it, they use him especially in red zone packages. I like him, so it's fine at least for now. The house is on fire, but I'm sitting in it and it feels okay. And I saw that Jared made a number of moves in the free agents, so we'll see how some of these playing out. I think he made like 3 or 4 moves total, but ended up picking up Trevor Lawrence, but then dropping him. He dropped him for who did he drop him for? Running back Marlon Mack. So Jarrett, I like the effort. I think that you're a pretty strong owner, so hopefully you can come around. So yeah, that is my wrap up of the A and B League. So without further ado, nice, we're almost right on time. We can get to some of the awards. So I think for sexiest team, we have some new awards. So we're gonna do the sexiest team, and honestly, I think this one goes to Connor Pico because Mike, you beat me. And since I run the show, I get to say whatever I want. Your team, honestly, Mike, your team is top notch too. It's like 1 and 2. So, but and these words you'll see. Some people might hit them twice. So Quinnell Quicksand, honestly, that was a sexy looking win you had. It was balanced top to bottom. I like seeing that it makes you confident. It makes me feel confident moving forward that your team is going to keep producing. Mike, your team was also great, but you were kind of bailed out in some spots by such a miraculous defense. Um, and so like hold on. So Connor's, I wish this is not the sleeper is not as great for podcast production, but like your second running back wasn't as good, tight end, and your flex kicker were not as solid. So you shore those things up, you know what? You're gonna get a pretty sexy looking team too. So not that Bell's trait, not that your team is bad, but anyways. So I think sexiest team goes to Connor, and so does the hottest team of the week. It's the Flamin' Hot Cheetos team of the week. I think it's got to go to Connor too. You know, he came in and steamrolled a top tier fantasy owner in Papa T, and nothing he could do. Papa T, even if you had a really great game, let's say you score 120, 130, 50 points, it's nothing you can do. Quinnell Quicksand just came in and buried you in it. So congrats, Connor. You take both of those awards. So the idiots.
What are you?
The idiot of the week. The idiot of the week goes to anybody who started Cam Akers. It sucks. Look, I think Cam is fine. Apparently he's just on the naughty list. He's just sitting in. Oh, I hate that it keeps going back to week 2. Whenever I switch between the two, I could probably go like this. All right, though we'll that's a learning curve. New formats, new leagues, new defensive scoring in the B League. Lots of news all over the place. We're getting accustomed to this new layout, and I'm sure as the week grow, I'll get more. I'll get this. This will flow a little bit easier. Anyways, anybody who started Cam Akers, yeah.
What are you?
Idiot of the week.
Idiot sandwich.
So, and I went over who it was. I think it might have been Jared. No, it was Omar. It was Omar, and then it was whoever scored the least in this week. I think was it Nate. Yeah. Yep. He didn't score the least, but it was pretty darn low. So, those guys, actually, you know what, Nate, you definitely get the idiot sandwich because you also started Irvin Smith, and yeah, not great. Anyways, that's the idiot sandwich. So, in terms of, we're gonna look ahead now. We'll jump forward, and we're gonna look at the team who's in the danger zone, most likely to get upset here, and honestly, you know what, Quinnell Quicksand, you're safe. The Burrow dinner, those guys are pretty even. There's lots of teams that are playing each other that have like the same record. And I actually think it's probably gonna be Ryan in this B League. Ryan, Papa T's got a great team. I don't have faith in your quarterback, and I know that Leonard Fournette, they've talked about slowly removing his role a little bit. Is it going to affect him that much? Not sure. But at the very least, I trust that Papa T's Chargers and Ravens combo are going to get the job done. Now, he has to switch Eli Mitchell out, and but I think that he can actually he'll find some piece that'll work. I think the core of his team is pretty decent, so we'll see. That would be my upset in the B League. In the A League, in week 2, I gotta go to league. Who I think actually is probably gonna upset somebody is 0-1, 1-1, 1-1, 0-1. Look, Tom, you had a really terrible showing last week, but I know that you have some depth. I think you could do okay, but realistically, yeah, you know what? I was gonna say me, but that's not fun for everybody else. Everybody else wants a little bit of love. Jake, I know you're playing Scott. I think that you could win this game. Is it an upset? Is it enough to say that Scott's in the danger zone? Well, I guess probably. Yeah, Scott, you're in the danger zone. I think Jake takes this one. Actually, pretty handily. You've got a lot of guys that are all dependent on the Buffalo offense. It's too dependent, and the Tennessee defense is top tier. Tennessee will have had all offseason basically to gear up for games like this. This is where their team is built around is defense, and especially when they look at playoff teams, they're probably looking ahead in the schedule, saying, okay, well, we need to beat enough of these top tier playoff teams to get into playoffs, and I'm pretty sure the Buffalo Bills would be circled on their calendar at week 2. So, Scott, I definitely think you're in the danger zone. Hopefully, Devontae Adams and Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, will bail you out. But you know what, Jake, it's here. It's on the table for you. So go get it. And now for the NFL primetime B3FL fantasy football game of the week. In this league, I think we have to go down to the lower league, because it's a battle between two players who both scored. I think they both scored over 100 points last week, well above the average. It's Kalen Newborough and Alex Sterling. Kalen coming in from the A-League, and Alex staying in the B-League last year. But you know what? I think these two teams are geared up and ready to go for quite a match. We have a show of some pretty great running backs and some pretty great quarterback play. I can't wait to watch these guys ball out this weekend. This is going to be a tough one for me, especially in the pick'em, where I don't see any. This one could go 50-50 for me, right? You have Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow facing off against each other. I like Joe Burrow in this matchup. Patrick Mahomes is playing the Chargers. That could be in a shootout. And of all the games this weekend or this week, that's the game I'm probably most likely and most excited to watch. Obviously, I'm going to watch the Vikings, but that's on Monday night. So the rest of them, it's going to be fun. So with that, I want to conclude our first official podcast. This one was a little rough, mainly because I spilled water all over my keyboard, literally as I was gearing up to do this podcast. So I was writing my notes, and all of a sudden it's just my keyboard crapped out. So yeah, ran this podcast without a keyboard, which is kind of cool. But yeah, enjoyed. I'm really happy to be back. I guess some general announcements. The pick'em, I'm gonna get that out tonight. And if I could actually get some help with that, I'd really appreciate it. We're in the process of automating the whole thing, so that way it'll automatically pull who's playing who and their projections and stuff like that. But until that's done, I'm gonna need just someone. If someone could volunteer themselves to help out with that, I'd really appreciate it. I can show you how to do it. It's pretty easy to set up, and we can update it fairly regularly. Lastly, I'd also want to get a little bit. Last year, I spent the most amount of time on this podcast was actually in getting people on the show. And once they were on the show, I had to manually edit all of the different volume levels, depending on who was talking. So, but to take some of that load off, if you guys could maybe volunteer yourselves, just send me if you want to be on the show. Send me a message at the maybe Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday or Thursday, whenever. Probably Monday, Tuesday would be the best. But honestly, you're gonna have to volunteer yourself this year, because I spent so much time just trying to get people on the show last year that it became really hard. I know some of you guys are camera shy, so eventually I will call on everybody, because everybody has to be on here. But until that happens, I'm just gonna need some callers. Right? We can set it up however you want, whatever time of day you want. You name it, I'll do it. So that's it. All right. So that out of the way, all the announcements are done. I'm thrilled to be back. This is going to be great. We're going to have a great year. I cannot wait to see what fantasy is going to be like. And I'm excited. We've got some great stuff coming down. I think the merch orders will be placed. We're going to see if we can spread out these orders so they're not all just in Waterloo. Maybe they get distributed into Toronto, maybe down to Windsor, or maybe even sent to where they need to go, because we have people all over the country. So we'll look into that. If you want it shipped, at the very least, talk to us. We can try to figure out where that's going to be. So, with all that said, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate all of the support we've had over the last year. I can't wait to keep giving you guys more content because this is super fun. I've streamlined the whole setup so it's way more hands-free. I don't have to constantly look at this screen over here. I can just do my thing. And I think we're going to be rocking and rolling. Once I get used to the Sleeper app, we're going to have a great time. So thank you guys for all your support. We love you. I also hate all of you because you all suck at fantasy. But good luck this year. Peace. Oh, stop.